I think in almost every one of the queries I get, and I get quite a few, they all ask how much cream to use, how much progesterone to use. And I spend my life on a calculator because a lot of the people who write in use another cream with varying strengths. So I have to work out for them how much. And of course, they're always alarmed because most of the time they have to use half the container to get the amount I suggest. So, but as far as dose is concerned, it really depends on symptoms. It doesn't depend on weight, age, height at all. And it depends a bit on sex because the man doesn't need as much. But the problem is estrogen. How much estrogen does a woman have in her body? And the more estrogen, the more progesterone is needed. And what I'm finding, if women take the courage and listen to what I say and use a lot, which is sometimes 10 times what they have been using, they're given, 20 to 40 milligrams a day to use. And I say 100 to 200 or more. And they're alarmed at this, but there are some who listen, and they are the ones that respond dramatically. I have found, and it was interesting, that one girl, her doctor put her on 400 milligrams immediately. And she had no estrogen dominance symptoms at all, none. And I found women who do that, go really high, don't often get the symptoms. But I've got women using 1,000 milligrams a day, half a tube. It's a huge amount because their symptoms are just so bad. And so it really depends only on symptoms, which again are a reflection of how much estrogen you have in you. Not size, not weight, not height, symptoms. And to go high.
Yes, actually what you are saying is so interesting because we presume that just taking that little scoop every day would be sufficient. And as you say, it's how much estrogen and how much estrogen dominant we have is directly related to the amount of symptoms that we have. So then one would start on a high dose. What would be the regime that you would advise, let's say, for the first 3 months?
If somebody is premenopausal, i.e. they've got a regular cycle, but are having horrific symptoms, I tell them to ignore the cycle. So in other words, they would use the cream every day and through their period as well. And I say do this for 2 to 3 months. Sometimes they require longer, sometimes shorter. But it doesn't harm to use it through the cycle. And what this means is that it gives progesterone a chance to become dominant. If you take a break, your estrogen can rise. So you're back to square one every time you start the progesterone. Going continuously on the cream, it suppresses estrogen continuously. So it cannot rise. And generally at the end of the 3 months, the progesterone is now dominant. And then once they sort of feel stable, they can start experimenting. They stop the cream and then see what happens. If the symptoms come back, they obviously haven't gone on long enough. But if the symptoms don't come back, then they can continue not using the cream for the length of the follicular phase that they normally have. Now, this is another confusing thing because everyone is told to use the cream for 14 days and have a break for 14 days. 28 days is only the average length of our cycles. They range from 21 days to 35 days. If you add those two together, divide by 2, you get to 28. And so the pill manufacturers put their pill in a 28-day package. Everyone now thinks every woman has a 28-day cycle. And it's simply not true. So a woman with, say, a 35-day cycle, she would only start using progesterone on day 21 and use it for the next 14 days. so she doesn't use it for 3 weeks. But somebody with a very short cycle, 21 days, she would start using it on day 7 and use it for the next 14 days. So you have to know cycles, but there are some women who have erratic cycles. They don't. In which case, use the average.
You would advise for the women with very bad estrogen dominant symptom to just go, not to respect the 14 days over the 3 months, but just to use it the whole month, every day.
Things sort themselves out. They don't feel as bad, because to my mind, it's far better to use the cream daily and get rid of the symptoms. I feel it's a small price to pay, because sometimes the cycle can get upset. So instead of a regular cycle, using it daily can make the cycle shorter or longer. But that's not a problem. It'll sort itself out again once you start following the cycle. So it's important to realize, sort of recapping, size, weight, height do not play any part in it. The symptoms play the part. The worse the symptoms, the more progesterone is needed to overcome them, and the longer normally you have to use it. And I found using for 2 to 3 months daily is sort of generally okay. Some women need longer. And then if you feel stable, start following your cycle. And the best is to start at 28 day, and then your normal cycle will sort of flow from there. And then things should start getting better. But I found also estrogen dominance can come out of the blue. Some women can be coasting along for 3 months and they're perfectly happy, and then suddenly they get hit. And I get this sort of panic, a letter. Sometimes no explanation for it. It's usually stress. Progesterone drops, estrogen rises, symptoms come back. What causes the stress, it's obviously the individual would know. But that is something to be aware of. Estrogen can rise again and hit you suddenly without realizing it. And there are so many factors now that cause estrogen to rise. I've just finished answering somebody. Even milk, which contains the bovine growth hormone, causes IGF-1 to increase. This is insulin-like growth factor. And that increases aromatase in the body. Aromatase converts more testosterone into estrogen in a woman, so you get estrogen rising. We just don't know what we're doing ourselves at any one time. We could be eating a huge amount of phytoestrogens without realizing it. They're in grains and legumes mainly. And so estrogen rises again. There are so many variables, it's impossible to say. But if it does happen, increase the cream again, increase the progesterone.
Excellent, Ray. That's so interesting. So often we just follow the mainstream and we think we are okay, and that but our health really matters, and we have to be responsible. We have to know about our hormones. We have to know what causes such imbalance and how to preserve ourselves. We want to live long and we want to live healthy. And I really appreciate, and happy of course, and I really appreciate your work and the way that you are really helping women all over. Thank you so much, Ray.